Good morning and welcome to Library Special with Miss Pulliam. Hi there, everybody. Okay, this is for week 8 and grades 3 to 5. Okay, so first of all, the story we're going to be reading quickly before we get to the Losers Club is going to be a story called There Was an Old Dragon Who Swallowed a Knight. And it is not just a funny story, but it's also a fractured fairy tale. And we spoke last week about a fairy tale and what a fractured one is. A fracture is something that is broken. So um, they take a fractured fairy tale as a rewritten fairy tale. It's broken, it's put back together, it's a little bit different. It's usually really kind of funny. Okay, first let's go over our words because we're learning a lot of words lately. Okay, if something is buoyant, that's right, it is able to float. A dozen of something is 12. Delectable. Mom, dinner was absolutely delectable. Thank you. It was delicious. Gander. Take a gander at that. Look. A dilemma. Problem. Content or contented. Happy and at ease. Felt warm and contented. Okay. New vocabulary for this story here. Let's see. We've got steed is a horse being ridden or available for riding. A squire is an attendant, a companion. Savory is salty or spicy. A tad is just a little bit. Perchance. Means like by some chance or perhaps. It's perchance. Okay, so we're going to get started on our story. There was an old dragon who swallowed a knight. There we go. This is by Penny Parker Klosterman. There was an old dragon who swallowed a knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a steed that galloped around at a terrible speed. Oh, how the dragon wished it would stop. That clippity, 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 clop. He swallowed the steed right after the knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a squire, who hollered, "That's hot," when the dragon's breath breathed fire. He swallowed the squire to calm the steed that galloped around at a terrible speed. He swallowed the steed right after the knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a cook, a savory cook, and his recipe book. He swallowed the cook to fatten the squire. He swallowed the squire to calm the steed that galloped around at a terrible speed. He swallowed the steed right after the knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's just not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a lady. It seemed quite shady he'd swallow a lady. He swallowed the lady to rule the cook. He swallowed the cook to fatten the squire. Swallowed the squire to calm the steed that galloped around at a terrible speed. He swallowed the steed right after the knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a castle, swallowed it down to the last golden tassel. He swallowed the castle to hold the lady. He swallowed the lady to rule the cook. He swallowed the cook to fatten the squire. He swallowed the squire to calm the steed that galloped around at a terrible speed. Clippity clop, clippity clop. He swallowed the steed right after the knight. I don't know why he swallowed the knight. It's not polite. There was an old dragon who swallowed a moat, guzzled and gulped it right down his throat. With all of that water, he started to bloat. And that's when the dragon roared, and I quote, "Okay, enough. I've had enough. More than enough of this swallowing stuff. Maybe I've been a tad impolite. Perchance, perhaps, I should only have swallowed the knight. Look how big he got. It's silly. So he burped out the moat that had caused him to bloat. He burped out the castle along with the tassel. He burped out the lady who found that quite shady. He burped out the cook in his recipe book. He burped out the squire, now blackened with fire. Then, with all the power that he could amass, the dragon burped out one last billow of gas. Burp! And with the terrible speed, he burped out the steed. Clippity, 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 clop. Clippity, 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 stop. It was an old dragon who swallowed a knight. Ah, just right. Good night. And you'll notice in there when they say good night, they spell it with a K, knight with a K, which is the soldier knight. Yeah. Okay, that was cute. Um, I have a lot of others. I have several others, Fraction Fairy Tales that we're going to do. They're fun, they're different. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe one of these days we'll be able to write our own. That would be a good time. Okay, let's get on to what we've all been waiting for, the Losers Club, our favorite. This book is phenomenal. We're on page 89, so I'm going to get started. Alec understood all this, and part of him wanted to tell Nina the whole story, but that might also mean telling how he was competing with Kent, which might mean that Nina would ask why he was competing. So explaining everything to Nina, not going to happen. But Alec felt like he had to say something more. So he said, "Yeah, I think we better keep our eyes open." Right. Turning to Lily, Nina said, "Both of us should move around to Alex's side of the table." When they were settled, Nina pulled a piece of paper out of a notebook, then asked, "Can I borrow a pencil?" "Sure," Alex said, and he dug around in his backpack and found a stubby little green one that he'd had for a couple of years now. Nina squinted at it. Is this the only pencil you have?" Alec looked again, but before he could find anything, Lily pulled out a pencil case, zipped it open, and gave Nina a brand new, pre-sharpened Dixon Ticonderoga. Nina said, "Great, thanks." A fourth kickball reached the table, but first it bounced 2 or 3 times, so it didn't have much force when it arrived. Again, it was Dave who came running for it, while Kent rounded the bases as his team chanted, "Champs, champs, 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 champs." Because of the kicking order and the innings, Kent's turns at the place were spaced fairly far apart, just long enough between kickball bombs that Nina and Alec and Lily could get back into their books and then be surprised all over again. But after 2 more long shots that landed closer to the origami club and then the chess club, Alec had learned to recognize the sound, that special whoop of a big kick, plus the yell that went up whenever Kent booted a huge one. It was an early warning signal. At the seventh whoop, when that yell burst out, Alec glanced up and saw the ball in midair. It traced a beautiful arc, soaring right across the center of the gym, and it was going to be a direct hit. "Hey, look out!" Lily ducked down, but Nina was already on it. She judged the speed and the drop and the arrival perfectly, and at the very last second she held up her hand with her fist clenched around that borrowed yellow pencil. The ball landed full force and stopped against Nina's hand, skewered like a big red pepper on a shish kebab. It hung there hissing as the air gushed out. As Lily and some of the kids at the other club tables clapped and cheered, Nina turned toward Alec and gave him a dazzling, triumphant smile. Alec was astonished and realized after 2 seconds that his mouth was hanging open. He shut his mouth, but he wasn't done being amazed. It was like Nina, the warrior princess, had drawn her sword and single-handedly killed a dragon. When Dave arrived, Nina held out her hand with a smile, and he pulled the squishy ball off the pencil. "I'm very sorry," she said sweetly. Dave laughed. He knew she wasn't sorry at all, and so did everyone else at the club tables. They watched as Dave ran back to the far corner, watched as the teams examined the dead ball, watched as all the players turned to look across the gym at them. Alex saw Mrs. Case standing over there by the main door, her arms folded, looking right at the Losers Club. He was tempted to smile and wave at her, but the expression on her face stopped him. Kent was looking at them, too. And then he did a fist pump, followed by a double thumbs up. But all that was meant only for Nina. Anita nodded and waved back. There were more kickballs in the equipment closet, and the game was delayed for a minute or two while Mr. Jensen got one out. The champs kept on beating the opposing kickball teams, one after the other, all the rest of that afternoon. And there were plenty of other long, high kicks, but nothing else landed near the Losers Club. Chapter 17 is called Ambush. Hey, loser! It was Wednesday morning, just before first period, and Alec recognized Kent's voice being behind him in the hall. He began walking faster. Kent called out again, a little louder. Hey, bookworm! Alec didn't slow down, didn't turn around. No way was he answering to that name. He kept walking, but he knew Kent was going to the art room, same as he was. Every day during first period, they had a class together, gym or art or music. Kent was unavoidable. Hey, Alec, wait up. He stopped and turned, and Kent caught up with him, all smiles. Pretending to be out of breath, Kent said, Phew, for a little guy, you can walk pretty fast, you know that? Which was half compliment and half put down. Alec knew he wasn't a little guy. He was just as tall as most of the other kids in sixth grade. And he also knew he was in pretty good shape. So he accepted the compliment, put the but the put down kept him on his guard. Kent said, So, how about Nina spearing the kickball that way? Some trick, huh? I tried to call her last night, but she never picked up. And when I stopped by to play some b-ball with her brother, she disappeared. I wanted to tell her how awesome that was. Alec had to smile. Yeah, that was totally amazing. Like a warrior princess with a pencil for a sword. Kent laughed. A warrior princess, that's great. Then he said, I was killing the ball yesterday. My best set of games ever. And listen, I hope I didn't bother you guys too much. Alex shrugged. Nah, it wasn't a problem. Which was true because if Kent's kickball bombardment were considered as a battle, then the Losers Club had won it. Alec knew that, and he was pretty sure Kent felt that way too. Otherwise, why was he trying to be so pleasant all of a sudden? And why was he complimenting Nina so much? The answer to that came quickly. Kent stopped just before the art room doorway. Listen for a second, okay? Standing face to face, there next to the bulletin boards, Alec did feel sort of little. Kent was at least 2 inches taller, and Alec had to tilt his chin up to look him in the eyes. Kent paused, and then, completely serious, he said, I just wanted to ask, are you and Nina, like, together or anything? The question stunned Alec. He gulped. What? You mean together? Us? No, no. Kent was all smiles again. Great, because I'm kind of thinking of making a move, you know? She's pretty cool. Kids were rushing to their classrooms now, and Kent said, Guess we'd better hustle before we get locked out. Huh? Catch you later. Alec followed Kent into the art room. He felt like his head was still somewhere in the hallway, trying to figure out what just happened. The bell rang, and Miss Bowden took charge. Okay, listen up. There's a bowl of wallpaper paste and pre-cut strips of newspaper on every table. I want you to work from the sketches you made last week. And you can either use a balloon for the form, or you can make a form with bunched up newspaper and tape. By the end of the period, I want to see a mask starting to take shape. Paper mache is super messy, so put on your art shirts. Let's get to work. Kids started talking and bustling around, getting their smocks and sketches from the cubbies at the back of the room, picking up rolls of tape and stacks of newspaper, moving to their assigned tables. Alex shuffled from point to point around the room, picking things up, putting them down, buttoning his long shirt, finding his table, and sitting on a stool. But he felt like his body and his mind were in different time zones. Excuse me a second. Ah, thank you. He replayed what he just said to Kent about Nina. Together? Us? No, no. That was true. There was no question about that. But saying it like that, right out loud, and to Kent, it felt bad. Though really, what else could he have said? Who, Nina and me? We're not anything, not really, at least not yet. But still, I'd appreciate it if you would just disappear for about 2 years, or maybe more. Move to France or Venus. Okay, Alec, time to get busy. That mask won't make itself. Oh, right, Alex said. Miss Bowden moved on, and Alec tried to focus, and he really had to. On Friday, Miss Bowden was going to have to give him at least an 8 out of 10 for the week. just like all his other teachers, or else it was off to the homework room, because that was the deal with his mom and dad, which we are well aware of, right? He had sketched out a mask based on an illustration from Treasure Island, a craggy pirate with an eye patch, a gold earring, and a big grin with missing teeth, all topped by a tri-cornered hat marked with a bold skull and crossbones. Alex suddenly wished his mask was finished so he could strap it on, grab a cutlass, and step over and challenge Kent to a sword fight. And that thought shocked him. First of all, Nina wasn't some kind of prize to win. She was going to do exactly what she wanted to, no matter what. And this idea of fighting Kent, that was a perfect way to have about 10 different disasters all at once. I'd have to be completely crazy to even think about that. Alec dipped a long strip of newspaper into the gooey paste, then smoothed it into place. He took a deep breath and then he did it again and again. By the time he had added 10 strips of paper to his mask, Alec felt a little better, and he decided that he wasn't completely crazy, just half crazy. Chapter 18. Not hilarious. By the time he got to his table in the gym that Wednesday afternoon, Alec was feeling much better about life, about himself, and about Nina. He was even feeling better about Kent. For one thing, he felt sure that Kent did not think he was a loser. A bookworm, yes, but not a loser. Not at all. Otherwise, why would Kent have talked to him about Nina like that before art class? Oops, excuse me a second, the light just went off. All right, come on. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Every 20 minutes or so, if there's no movement in the room, the light goes off. Okay. Kent did not. He goes, "Look where he just. Okay. No, Kent didn't think he was a loser. Kent clearly thought he was more like a rival, a possible contender, which made Alec feel pretty good. The rush of cheerful feelings turned out to be temporary. Because just then Alex saw Nina as she walked into the gym, and he saw Kent trot over to say hi to her, and he watched as Kent walked to Nina partway across the gym. Alec, is this a good book? Lily held up a copy of Holes. Oh, yeah, it's great, he said. Lily wanted to talk more, but Alec turned back to Nina and Kent. They had stopped near the middle of the floor talking, and then Nina turned and kept walking toward Alec, a big smile on her face. Kent stood there, and when he saw Alec at the table, he grinned and gave him a double thumbs up before turning around and running over to begin his daily kickball massacre. As Nina got closer and closer, Alec realized that he had a big problem, a new one. This morning he had told Kent that there wasn't anything going on between him and Nina, which was true as far as anybody else knew. But the way Kent had shot that double thumbs up at him just now, so does he think that now I'm his assistant or something, that I'm going to help him make a move on Nina? Hi, Alec. Hi. Nina dropped her backpack, sat in a regular spot. She said, "You have an extra snack. You have any extra snacks? I forgot to pick up something at lunch and I'm starving." "No problem. I've got plenty." Alec reached for his backpack and peered inside. His mom had started sneaking in some healthier food. "Do you want a bag of Cheetos or a raisins and oats and honey energy bar? I've got juice too, Hawaiian punch and grape." Um, which do you want?" she asked. He smiled. "Doesn't matter. You pick first." She said, "Then I'll have the energy bar and the Hawaiian punch. Thanks." He slid the food down the table to her, and she instantly peeled back the wrapper and bit off half the granola bar, chewing while she stuck the straw into the top of the drink box. After a gulp of punch, she said, "You'll never guess what just happened." "I bet I can guess. Can you?" When I walked in, Kent came running over, and the first thing he said was, "How come you avoided me all day?" Because I did. I didn't say a word to him, and whenever I saw him coming, I went the other way. And last night, too, because he's always coming by now to hang out with Richie. And he also tried to call me, and I wouldn't answer. She took another bite, a small one, and kept talking as she chewed. "So," I said, "well, I thought it was mean the way you kept trying to bomb our table yesterday, and then I ruined the ball, which was also kind of mean, and I just didn't want to talk to you because I didn't. Alec nodded. "Right, I get that." Nina said, "So then," he said, "but I wasn't mad at all. I thought it was awesome how you did that, like you were a warrior princess and that pencil was your sword." That's what he said. Me, a warrior princess. Isn't that hilarious? Alec had a hard time making his face look pleasant. Yeah, hilarious. That's what Alec had said, and he said it politely, but inside his head he was shouting, Kent stole that idea from me, and I wasn't being funny. Warrior Princess is the title of respect and honor, not some cheesy line you use to score points with a girl. In the back of his mind, Alec heard that familiar whoomp of a big kick from the far corner and then the sudden cheer as Kent took off around the bases. Nina turned to watch Kent and she smiled. Alec watched too, but the look on his face, no one would have called it a smile. We're on chapter 19 now, and it is called NonFiction. And before we read it, let's go ahead and do a little stretching. I'm taping this in the morning. It is about 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. Oh, it does feel good. Never stretching, it's just moving around, reaching, breathing. Okay. Chapter 19 is called Nonfiction. Alec rode his bicycle along Ash Street at, as night was falling on a chilly Friday evening in September. He had passed Kent's house and he was halfway down the next block. 4 more blocks and one left turn, and he would be almost at Nina's driveway. And then what happens? That part wasn't totally clear, and Alec felt like he should probably slam on the brakes, turn his bike around, and pedal back home as fast as he could. But he kept going. This plan had hatched right after dinner. It was Friday night, and a good one, too. He had gotten all nines and tens on his first end of week report card. Woohoo! So he was safe from the homework dungeon for another week. But Alec hadn't felt like watching a movie with everyone else in the family room, so he had walked upstairs and flopped onto his bed and started to read, just as he'd done 1,000 times before. But tonight he couldn't get a certain conversation out of his mind, a conversation he almost wished he hadn't overheard. But he had overheard it, because he had listened to it on purpose. That had been earlier in the day, right at the start of extended day. He had stopped at the door of the gym to double check with Mrs. Case about the open house in October because he was starting to worry about that date. He had told Nina he was going to take care of the whole thing, and it was a promise he really wanted to keep. Mrs. Case had been relieved that he was finally taking the open house seriously. As I already mentioned, the principal asked if we could talk about extended day right before the refreshments at the end of the regular open house. So our presentations probably won't start till about 8 o'clock. I'm thinking somewhere between 400 and 500 kids and parents and teachers will be here in the gym. Mrs. Vance said she's planning on refreshments for 550 just in case. It's going to be quite an event. Mrs. Case confirmed that the open house was October 20th, then added, which is still more than a month away, so that's good. But the basic guidelines haven't changed, and you can find them on page 30 of the information booklet. Here's my copy. Just put it back on my table when you're done with it. Alec had been about to say no thanks, but off to his left, he heard Nina's voice in the hallway and then Kent's. So he had opened Mrs. Case's program booklet, stuck his nose in it, and pretended to read as he listened with all his might. Yeah, so I'm coming over to shoot some hoops tonight. You gonna be around? As usual, Kent had sounded very cool, very smooth. Probably, said Nina. Richie said some guys might show up tonight. He's hoping for a game. There was a smile in Kent's voice. So, how about after the game, maybe you and me work on your shooting some more? I think you could probably get into the girls' basketball team at the middle school next year. Really? Alec could tell Nina had loved that idea, and Kent knew it too. Alec could tell, okay, no kidding. You've got natural talent. If you worked hard, maybe by high school, you could even be a starter. I can't wait for next year. Seventh grade is when sports really start to matter, you know? Basketball, soccer, baseball. I want to do everything. It's going to be awesome. The way Kent had turned the conversation back to a celebration of his own wonderfulness made Alec groan, but Nina hadn't seemed to notice. She said, so yeah, I'll see you tonight, okay? Great, catch you later. And that had been the end of Alec's eavesdropping, but sitting near Nina at their table for the rest of Friday afternoon, all he had to think about was Nina and Kent playing basketball in the moonlight. He knew it was a silly image, but he couldn't get it out of his head. So what? Am I just going to sit around and read adventure stories tonight? That's the first question Alec had asked himself as he lay on his bed thinking about all this after dinner. But he hadn't stopped there. He had kept on asking himself questions. I've read all these books about these amazing heroes who do incredible things, people who fight for honor and glory and patriotism and love. So, what about me? Do I just sit around while Kent grabs all the activities? I'm sorry, all the attention? And then one last thought sealed the deal and got him up off his bed and out the door. Well, if Kent can just ride over to Nina's house anytime he feels like it, then I can too. When Alec wheeled around the corner onto Hardy Avenue, right away he could hear a basketball bouncing and guys calling to each other, and he saw the bright lights of the court from 3 houses away. As he came even with the driveway, Alex saw that the backboard was mounted on the garage roof, a two-car garage off to the side and set back from the front of the house. It was a nice wide court, and the three-point arc and a free throw line had been painted onto the asphalt. A row of floodlights mounted on the side of the house, which threw out lots of light. There were 4 guys, a two-on-two game. Kent was teamed up with a kid a little taller than he was, but the other boy had narrower shoulders, and a slimmer build. One look at that kid when the light was right, and Alec was sure it was Nina's brother Richie. He knew Nina's face by heart, and this boy's eyes and chin looked just like hers. The other 2 guys weren't athletes. Alec saw that right away. The one with blonde hair was wearing a black t-shirt and jeans, and his shoes were all wrong for basketball. But he could shoot pretty well from in close, so he just kept backing up toward the basket, using muscle instead of skill. And then he'd turn and try for the shot. The blond guy mostly ignored his teammate. He was a little shorter with a mop of dark hair and a wide face. Alec could hear him panting, and he kept calling, I'm open, over here, I'm open. He had his hoodie zipped up, and he was sweating like crazy, his face flushed and splotchy. Can't fit right in. Even though he was obviously the youngest kid out there, whenever he got the ball, he was fierce, and he had great moves and ball handling skills. Okay. He could drive straight to the hoop and lay it up, or he could work the edges and feed perfect passes to Richie. Alec wasn't really a basketball fan, but he had a great book about LeBron James and another one about Steph Curry. He understood a lot more about the game than he could ever try to do. Alex stood there straddling his bike and on the sidewalk at the end of the driveway, but it had gotten pretty dark and he was beyond the lights on the court. The players inside that brightness didn't notice him. He watched for a few minutes, but then the blond kid batted a pass away toward the street, and as Ken chased it, he almost fell over Alex's bike. Whoa, sorry, didn't see you. Then Kent blinked, and he saw who it was. A big grin spread across his face. He got the ball, then grabbed the handlebar of Alex's bike and pulled it forward about 10 feet onto the lit part of the driveway. And Alec had no choice but to stumble along forward with his bike. Hey guys, check it out. This is my old buddy Alec, the bookworm. Looks like his mommy let him come out and play tonight because he's usually tucked in with his blankie and his bedtime story by now. Right, Alec? Oh, isn't he a sweetheart? Alec was surprised at the sharpness of the teasing. Kent had seemed almost friendly the past few days. Right away, he realized that Kent was showing off for his older friends. But knowing that didn't make him any less angry. He stepped off his bike, and tossed it to the driveway hard. Alec's hands clamped into fists. His stomach tightened. His breathing got shallow. He had a coppery taste in his mouth as he ripped off his helmet and dropped it to the ground. The rear tire on his bike was slowly spinning, and Alex stepped around it and looked Kent in the eye. He had never had a fight before, not a real one, not until now. As Alec came another step closer, Kent stopped grinning and took a quick step back. Kent had been in a fight once, and he could see what was coming. Alec felt like a strange light was glowing all around them, and Kent's face lit up like a Halloween mask, with long shadows stretching off behind him. And hey Alec, hi. How come you didn't tell me you were coming over? Did you just get here? Alex spun around and saw Nina. She slammed the back door of a car and trotted over next to him, all smiles. Alec saw two other people in the front seats, her mom and dad. Alec turned for a quick look at Kent, and when the car headlights turned off, the weird shadows around him went away. Richie walked over and said, "Hey, Alec. Nina told me all about you starting that club. Nice to meet you." "Thanks," Alec said. "Good to meet you, too." Richie had a friendly smile, and Alec liked him right away. Nina said, "So, can you come inside, or did you come to play basketball?" "Yeah," Kent said. "How about us shoot a game of horse, or maybe a game of bookworm, which is more fun because it's a longer word so you won't lose quite as fast." Alec bent down to get his helmet, pulled it on, and then picked up his bike. He completely ignored Kent and spoke only to Nina. "Thanks, but I was just riding by and stopped to say hi. I should head home before it gets totally dark, so I'll see you Monday." "Okay, see you Monday." Alec thought she seemed disappointed, but he shoved it off anyway. He shoved off anyway, sorry. It was a slow ride home. Alec barely saw the street, hardly noticed as he pedaled and braked and rounded the corners. And as he turned into his driveway and walked his bike to the garage, he realized something. All that stuff he'd said to himself back in his bedroom about him stepping up to go fight for honor, glory, and love, all that stuff was nothing but nonfiction. It was like he had started writing it out of his head, a chapter in his very own adventure novel, with him playing the hero, and then he had set off on his bicycle to act it out. Okay, last page here. He hadn't told his parents he was leaving, so he crept into the house and then tiptoed upstairs to his room. When he had the door shut, he flopped back onto his bed and reviewed it again. The whole mess. Mask make believe mess. But as he lay there, he held up his hands and looked at them. He clenched them into fists and remembered exactly how he had felt when Kent had thrown his bike onto the ground. He remembered exactly how the bike's back wheel had made his little tick, tick, tick as it slowly turned. And he remembered exactly how his feet had felt as he had stepped around his bike and then looked Kent right in the eye. 3 moments of perfect clarity, complete in every detail. His trip to Nina's house had definitely started out like fiction, almost like a dream. But then he had actually done things, and as he did them, he began the owner of a collection of interlocking moments, moments that belonged only to him. And those moments were not fiction. On that Friday night, Alec didn't read, didn't even think about books for at least half an hour. A long time for him. He lay there quietly on his bed, thinking about his life, all of it. We're going to stop there. We're now on chapter 20, page 110, so we're doing pretty well. And I'm going to change it here because I'm writing that down. Page 110, chapter 20. Super. I hope you're still enjoying the book as much as I am because I'm really enjoying this book. And we'll go back and talk for just a second about fractured fairy tales. A fractured fairy tale is a fairy tale that is taken, it's broken apart, and they change it all about. And they're fun and very enjoyable. Okay, my friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Have a wonderful day and keep reading. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Read out loud at home. It is so important, guys, and I will say this every week. Read out loud. Get your confidence by reading aloud. Your confidence, feeling comfortable with reading aloud so that you can read and get your voice out there in a big room like this. Also, I'm working on the school newsletter, and I would love you guys to tell your parents to take a picture of you reading to a pet or a stuffed animal and send that in to me at lpulliam@winthropcharter.org. That's LPULLIAM at winthropcharter.org. I will go ahead and put those in the newsletter. And, oh my Lord, it happened again. Hold on. Okay. So I will put them in the newsletter, and that'll give you more practice at reading aloud and getting comfortable with throwing that voice out there. Have a super day, guys. Eat healthy snacks and keep reading. Bye.